Hi, everyone. I am so excited today because I am speaking with author Snowden Wright. We are talking about his brand new book, came out February 5th, called American Pop, and I am holding it in my hands as we speak. Everybody is looking at this amazing cover. So thank you so much, Snowden.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. You know what? When I was reading this book, I swear to you, I looked it up I kept trying to find something on like Wikipedia. I'm like, this isn't fake. This has got to be real. No, this isn't fiction. No, this has got to be historical fiction. There's got to be this company. I just couldn't believe that it was fiction. Are you hearing that from people?
From a few people, and that's the reaction I was hoping for when I was initially conceiving the novel. I wanted it to be, I thought of Truman Capote's nonfiction novel In Cold Blood, and I aspired to write the opposite of that. I wanted to write fictional nonfiction, and in order to do so, I used techniques of historical reportage, such as exegetic source material, quotes from texts that are real and fake, and quotes from interviews conducted over the years, so that I could create a greater sense of verisimilitude, a sense that this really happened.
Oh, I'm telling you, you had me, okay? Because I kept looking it up, and I was like, wait, it's got to be based on something. It's got to be about, like, it has to be real. And what the thing is that there is some real, because the history part you hit on, because of the timeline, right? So you kind of follow in history what is going on during this, right?
That's true.
I thought you did that really well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love how it comes with the time. I think that's another reason that it got me, because you put such an amazing timeline and like family line in the beginning, which is really helpful, by the way. I really appreciate it, because I did use that several times, so that was also helpful. But like you had real dates and I'm like, one of these people have to be real. Like somebody's got to be real. But I love the story. Okay, so we start off with Montgomery Forster. And in the very beginning of the book, you start off with him at a New Year's Eve party going into 1940. And I think this is where you really got me, too. What made you decide to start the story there?
I decided to start there because it would give me a chance to show the family at its height and also showcase all of them in one place. And so it takes place at this New Year's Eve party, and the entire family is there because it's their annual gala, and it's sponsored by their company, the Coca-Cola Company. And my goal with that was to kind of create an opening salvo to give the reader a message that this will be an ambitious novel, because that first chapter is the equivalent of a one-take shot in a movie. It's the equivalent of the opening of The Player or Touch of Evil, or any number of shots in the great film Children of Men. So there are no space breaks, and the camera, like the quote-unquote camera of the novel, follows these characters throughout this party, and it moves from one Forrester to the next without the benefit of a space break. And I wanted to give the sense of the family as a whole, and seeing them at what should be their height, but is actually one of the lows for each of them in their own personal way.
Well, it's interesting because I'm going to read this last paragraph of the first chapter, because I was thinking that when I went back and reread this. You say, Harold took one last look around the lobby, the sight of his brothers making his chin quake, the sight of his sister making his shoulders cave, before sitting back down with tears in his eyes. He could not find a tissue. Harold put his face into his hands as Auld Lang Syne echoed through the hotel. He was crying because of his family. Never in his life had he seen them all so happy. And we know that's like, like he saw that, but it wasn't true, really, right?
Correct. So it's a bit of dramatic irony in that he's misinterpreting, because they're all unhappy in their unique way.
Yeah, because in that first chapter, you cover I just thought you did this brilliantly, because you cover each one of the siblings and what's going on in their life, but that he doesn't see what's going on in their life.
Mm-hmm. And so Harold is a unique character in that he has a a limited intelligence, and so he just cannot grasp certain things. But he is such a sweet character in that he considers himself to be the guardian of the family. And towards the end of the novel, or into the chronology, after they've all passed away, he is essentially the institutional memory, not only of the family but of his company, and he's the bearer of these memories, and that's what's so tragic for him.
Yeah, and I don't want to give anything away about him because there's a lot about him, and I end up loving his character so much. But, tell us, because there are a lot of young writers that are going to look at this and, tell them, talk about how hard it was. Because I'm thinking, as I'm reading this book, I'm like, this research and to keep track of these siblings and the timelines and, how difficult was that for you, writing a family saga like this?
It was... Of course, it was difficult, but it did involve a lot of research. Initially, I did the cursory research into the soft drink industry to find out how a company like Pan-Cola would operate and what its ascent and descent would be like. After that, I did the research as needed. So, for example, there's a chapter in 1930s Paris in which one of the characters has an affair with Josephine Baker. And for that research was a lot of fun. I got to read biographies of Josephine and read about 1930s Paris, which was just a fascinating time. There's even a chapter set in the Mississippi Delta, and for that, even though my father's side of my family is from the Delta, I read this great book called The Most Southern Place on Earth by James T. Cobb that was really helpful in creating that chapter. And then as far as the timelines go, as you know, it's a jumble timeline. It's non-linear.
Right.
So that I was attempting I had all of these generations of characters, and I wanted to create the sense that they existed at one time, because I knew that if I went in chronological order, there would be this monotony, these little humps of, okay, there's this generation, then the next one comes along, then the next one comes along. And so I realized early on that I would have to braid the narratives together so that you get the feeling that all these characters and generations are existing at the same time. And that also allowed me to work with the highs and lows of the family in a more artful way, and to sort of create music out of the narrative, not be beholden to time, because time doesn't naturally have an art.
Yeah.
Time doesn't exist, correct.
Yeah, I mean, and I have to tell everybody, when you're reading this, especially that first chapter, because it's so important, and I am a fast reader, okay, just naturally. I read a lot, and I've read, and then I was like, wait a second. I forced myself to slow down and just absorb the words, and I learned to love, I don't know, it was such a weird experience for me, because I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do this slower. And then as I was reading more and more, I just became so engrossed in this story that I was like, I have never read anything like this, because there was no timeline, but it makes you pay attention to what's going on, and your writing was brilliant. So, that helped.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that helped you, because it was so, the way you go into each one, and you're going back and forth, not just timelines, but, you're going all over the world with them also. They're traveling, and, it was just, what a concept. How did you come up with this concept of a story? What was your initial thought?
My initial thought was, what would a novel about the Kennedys be like if they made their fortune by inventing Coca-Cola?
Oh, my goodness.
And so you may wonder, well, why Coca-Cola? To me, it's just always seemed to be such an American drink. It is to America what tea is to England or wine to France. It's a national beverage. And after that, my job was to populate the novel with over a dozen characters. And because of the way I wanted to write it, where it would be nonlinear and I would be able to use flash forwards, I knew I needed to know the characters not only intimately, but deeply. I would have to know their entire life stories from the very first sentence. And so at that point, I remembered my multiplication tables. In second grade, when we were taught our multiplication tables, I came up with a mnemonic device by which every number between 0 and 12, I gave a personality and a place within a larger family. And when they multiplied, their product looked in my little brain like this little anecdote. And some of these anecdotes are pretty tawdry for a 7-year-old or however old you are in second grade. And they would play out in my head for years. And like even up until a couple of years ago, whenever I factored a tip in a restaurant, these little anecdotes would play out. And so all I had to do was transpose the numbers into the novel.
Wow. Well, you know what? Like I said, I have never read a book like this, and I am seeing it all over the place. It has only been out for a little bit, like 15 days now. You're on book tour. You're right in the midst of your book tour.
Right in the middle of it.
And, you know, I'm seeing everybody just loving this, and I'm sure you are just so happy about that.
I'm thrilled.
Yeah. The reception of it, especially, I mean, it's your second book, but it's like this is getting so much attention, and, you know, you must just be very pleased about that.
I'm ecstatic. I really am. Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, are you writing right now? Like, I know you're out there, or are you working on a new book, or are you just going to just bask in this one for a while?
I've already started a new book. I'm about 100 or so pages into it, and it's about I like to describe it as being about the American South, but it's set in South America. It's about this group of people, a real group of people called the Confederados. After the Civil War, roughly 20,000 Southerners expatriated to Brazil on the promise of cheap farmland and subsidized tax fees, and the fact that slavery was still legal down there. And so it's about a community of those Confederados. So whereas American Pop is the story of a family, the book I'm working on will be the story of a community. I consider it to be similar to the TV show Deadwood, except set in Brazil.
Wow. Well, you must really enjoy, like, even though these are fiction, it sounds to me like you really enjoy the research part of it.
I do. It allows me to explore an entirely different world. And with historical fiction, you're able to make things feel fresh in a way, just with vocabulary. So even though, let's say, sassafras oil was the per plus of its day, you get to use that word, and even though per plus in a present-day piece of work might sound kind of just boring, sassafras oil sounds incredible and beautiful.
Right. Well, do you have a date for that, or are you just in the beginning?
Well, I'm fortunate enough to be working on it full time. My last day at my day job was just this past Friday, and so I'll be working on it full time from now on, and I am so excited about that.
That is really exciting. I'm sure it's every author's dream, really, is to be able to write full time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, thank you so much. I mean, it was such an honor to read this. It was I just loved every page of this book, okay? It was so much fun, and going into the Coke thing and cola, learning all the history that you put in this, it was a lot of fun, and I just want to thank you for taking time out for talking with me. I'm going to put all of Snowden's links listed underneath here, especially an Amazon link that will take you right there, and so you can buy the book today. You can do it. You can download it today, and best of luck to you on your tour.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And, next time around, let me know. You know where to find me. I'll be an early reader. I'd love to read it.
Will do.
Can't wait. Okay, great. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.